So, welcome to the second and final part of this YouTube tutorial session on creating a flood risk map with the Greater Accra region as our study area. In the previous video, we looked at generating our proximity to stream channels, and then we started reclassifying our digital elevation model, our slope. Then the last bit we covered was the rainfall. Now we're going to reclassify our land use land cover, and then we'll classify the last indicator, which is the proximity to stream channels. And then we'll use the final method, which is the weighted sum analysis, to generate our final flood risk map. So I'll go ahead and check this and this, and then check my land use land cover data and collapse this. So over here for the input cluster, I'll select the land use land cover, and then the value will be maintained under the field, and then instead of classify, we'll select unique. Unique because these are individual, or these are individual unique features that are present on the Greater Accra region, right? This is the land use land cover data. It was downloaded from the ArcGIS Living Atlas. It's a Sentinel-2 data, and so we are going to code or give a scale based on the type of land cover present on the Greater Accra region. Unfortunately, they were coded using numbers instead of the actual name. But then when you go online and check the land cover guide, the Sentinel-2 land cover guide, it will give you the individual, or it will give you the names of the land cover data in relation to the value. So I've actually have it on an Excel sheet, and then I'll just display over here. So one is vegetation. One is water, two is vegetation, four is flooded vegetation. Flooded vegetation is essentially areas that are waterlogged, have a lot of water, and has vegetation present in it. So it's like a mixture of vegetation and a waterlogged area. 5 is cropland, and 7 is urbanized areas. 8 is bare grounds. 10 is clouds. Even though on when you open the data, it's not visibly present, but then it was still captured. And then the last one is rangeland. Now, with the rangeland, so let us discuss the various land cover use data present on it, and its influence on whether or not an area is flood prone. Now, when we consider the first one, which is water, water bodies obviously, are highly prone to flooding. That is it's no brainer. Water and then flooded vegetation, to be precise, those are areas that already have a strong presence of water in it, so they're highly prone to flooding. Now, 2, we have vegetation. From the little natural, I'll explain this concurrently with the urbanized areas and backgrounds. Now, from the little environmental science we know that vegetation plays a key role in mitigating flood disasters, because they are able to as it were, for lack of a better phrasing, prevent runoff, right? They are able to absorb water underground, and as compared to an urbanized area like which you can see in the Greater Accra region, especially the southwest of the Greater Accra region is more urbanized. And with urbanization comes with the fact that much of the vegetation or much of the natural landscape is destroyed to give way to the urban structures or the grey structures. So, i.e., buildings, roads, and all other impervious surfaces. Now, when it rains, instead of the water to sit underground, it doesn't because much of the surface is impervious. So the water will rather collect and accumulate. And if it rains for an extended period of time, if it rains over an extended period of time, the chances of flooding occurs. Yeah. So the same argument can be made with bare grounds. Bare grounds meaning there's nothing on top, so it is at the mercy of rain if it is to rain. So much of the vegetation is covered or is cleared, and so it's left bare. Now the last one is let me explain the cropland. So essentially, the cropland and the rangeland are much similar. But then with the cropland are areas just mainly used for farming or some sort of crops are growing on them. And then the rangeland generally is characterized by spaced or little amount of vegetation. In this case, grasslands. So much of the rangeland is used for grazing purposes. So cattle go over there to eat, graze, and so depending on the soil type, right, how the soil is compacted, which could be compacted mainly due to cattle grazing over it, right, or the soil again, the makeup of the soil, whether it is clay or not, can inform or can influence the chances of flooding. Croplands have some little level of vegetation from it, so um, it will have a low or moderate chance of flooding. So with that being said, we can now go ahead and recode these values based on what we know that the unique values represent. So one is water bodies. So one, we know that as water bodies are generally are high, have a high chance of flooding. Vegetation, no chance, little or no chance of flooding. Four is flooded vegetation. So flooded vegetation, a very high chance of flooding. And then five croplands, we can give that a moderate chance of flooding. And then seven is the urbanized space, very high chance of flooding. 8 backgrounds would give that a 4. And then 10 would right there no data because it's cloud cover, no data. And then 11 rangeland would give that a 3. Again, these values are arbitrary. I'm choosing them based on my preference of scale in terms of which areas are most likely have the most chance of flooding and areas that have the least chance of flooding. So I can rename this to land use land cover LC and then hit run. Okay, so this is the legend we have. This is the legend we have. Okay, so I didn't add 2, so let us go back. We didn't give I want to make it balanced. I would have to add the scale of 2 to it. So let us see. 5 is actually cropland. So I think it's safe to say let's yeah, in the spirit of fairness, I'll just make this two and least 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 chance of flooding or very low chance of flooding. So I would hit one to make it much more balanced. Okay, so here we go. Now let us scroll up. Okay, now this is much more balanced. So five, as expected, much of the southwestern part of Greater Accra region is highly prone to flooding, which is marked by yellow. And then the least chance of flooding is areas with vegetation. So we can actually cross-check. So yeah, so when I zoom in, the green parts mark vegetation, which makes sense. So least chance one, put it with the value of one, and then this great chunk is the rangelands. So rangelands have a moderate chance of flooding. And then the pink, or the should I say purple, the purple are croplands as you and yeah, and have the least chance of flooding. Yeah. And then four are barelands. Four are barelands over here. If I zoom in and I check this, yeah, have a high chance of flooding. So I'll just zoom out. Now the next and final layer we're going to reclassify is our proximity to channels. So the value will be maintained over there, and then we'll go back to our classify, and then natural breaks, and then hit OK. So again, areas that are not far from a stream channel have the highest chance of flooding, and areas far away, or I wouldn't say far away doesn't really accurately captures it, but have quite a distance away from the flood channel, have a high chance of flooding. So this will be the reverse. So this would be 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then hit enter, and then sorry, before I make a mistake, I'll change this to proximity to channels. Sorry, didn't spell that well. Channels. Then I would hit run. So this is our final. This is our final layer for the proximity to channel. Now we can run our final weighted sum analysis to generate our final flood risk map, which will be used, which will use our indicators we used. Sorry, which will use our scores we indicated in the previous slide. So I'll just clear this and go to weight sum spatial analyst 2, yes, and then our first raster would be the proximity to channel. Then let me just add then I'll come back and add the scores of the weights. So second one will be land use land cover, add this one. Third one will be rainfall, add another one to be slope. Digital elevation model. So now we are going to add the values or the scores we used in that was stated in the previous slide. Now, like I said in the previous slide, this is arbitrary, but for perfect analysis, for perfect analysis, it is prudent, or it is important that you consult experts in this field to give you real and like ideal or practical scores or weights to generate your final map. So for the flat risk, so for the proximity to channel layer, we're going to use 0.25. Sorry. And then for the land use land cover, we're going to use 0.3. For rainfall, we're going to use 0.2. For the slope, we're going to use 0.1. In the elevation model, the digital elevation model, we're going to use 0.15. And then I'll just give it a name, flat risk map. Sorry, flat risk. I'll hit run. So this is our final flat risk map. So again, if you do the analysis and you realize that it really doesn't, you can tweak the values to until you get a near realistic, a near realistic representation, or based on what you think is ideal. So you can tweak the values, the parameters again. So I'll just click on the value and change the symbology. I think I can make it inverted, which is more like it, yeah. So you can see that much of the Greater Accra region, especially towards the sea, is really prone to flooding. It's at a high risk of flooding. Again, this is because it's a coastal plain. So it has the terrain is gently sloped. So the chances of flooding are very high. Again, it sits at the bottom of the Equipim Togo Ridge. You can even change the color scheme if you want to, right? So I could use this and then make that, yeah, that is much more appealing and easy to the eye. I mean, you can play around with the symbology again. Maybe I'll change this to classify, and then based on the classes, so I'll change, based on the scale we gave you, so 5, so 1 to 5. So I'll just change the scale and use this particular scale. Then now I can rename the label. So this would be very low, and then this would be low, and then we could make this moderate, and I could make this high, and the last one very high. Very high. Again, in the spirit of playing around, I could go to the raster layer, the contextual tab over there, and then change the sampling type, make this nearest neighbor. I don't think nearest neighbor can work. Then maybe let's try bilinear. Let's try the cubic one again. I think the cubic one makes much more sense. It's much more appealing to the eyes. So after that, we can now generate our final map. So at the insert tab, I'll go to new layout, use a landscape letterhead, and then come here, select this map frame here, and then just draw it. You can, to the full extent if you want to. At this point, your graphic design skills come into play. And then yes, so then we can now, let me just adjust this a bit. Okay, yeah, just this a bit. Now I can add basic things or basic elements of a map. Just draw a north arrow over there, and then the scale bar. Use the metric because we use metric in our part of the world. Then a legend. So I think I can, I'll select this option, and then I think I'll just draw one at the top here. Right. Okay. And then I can add my title. Just draw one over here, and then I'll give it the appropriate title, which is flood risk map of the Greater Accra Region. So I can edit this because it is going out of the map layout extent. So I'll just right click and go to properties, and then go to text symbol, and then maybe reduce it to, let's say, 22. Hit apply. Okay, you can increase it a bit, so that's 24. Apply, yes, and then I'll just center it over here, and there you have it. You have your flood risk map of the Greater Accra Region. You can share it by going to the share tab over here. You can print it and then export the layout as a PDF or as a JPEG image, any format of your choosing. Yeah, so thank you very much for sitting through this session. We hope you've learned a lot from this tutorial, and you can apply this in any given study area of your choice. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.